one doesn't sort of need to revisit to know the instate of the situation. If they are our guys, if they could be a member of the sort of Aryan group, or whether also groups that would immediately already be at that state. Check out the level of the Nazism is. How come Nazism doesn't get mentioned as if they're dominators? What if our sides are so weak to the point that we get easily swooned as strong? What if all these just doesn't declare some kind of mental automatrons? Could that be medically whether a case? It's rather already proven. Probably already proven the instance someone noticed, and there's probably 2,000 videos here at this media. It's going to take a while before this video goes on the mentionable whether they're a medium of this vestige of forces against us, and goes with the different modes act and whether reason and whether of whether reason and whether minor instead of whether reason and whether minor rather from whether reason and whether reason and whether reason and whether whether reason and whether first of whether reason and whether and whether and whether reason and whether and whether reason and whether at first of. We see different war matter perils as of its different groups. The many of the ethnic whether reason and whether minor instead of whether reason and whether minor instead of whether reason and whether the numerous, namely of ethnic groups, are of identical front. There might be some meaning, whether some representations to the names, but it's going to be completely pseudo. And these leeches simply couples their divisions have to declare whether in focus onto certain specialization, then due to sheer numbers we can have quite a force to deal with. This equality stuff, it's and whether the stranger and many of the also and whether reason and whether also and whether reason and whether the numerous policies at different education facilities and weather centers have caused almost everyone to be tackled and shackled, whether sort of also shackled, whether surrounded by these opposites at a certain level, on whether of certain degrees of whether reason and whether minor rather from whether of certain on point whether reason and whether minor rather from whether reason and whether of certain perspective is whether reason of certain level another and whether reason and whether another and whether reason and whether of certain levels of considerable as quite a surround. How else can whether this had resulted to this entire mess we've been having? Suppose someone start to be more sensible, less of sort of a acceptable, whether it's strategic, suitable foolishness, and not to coincide with the match vestiges of the mimicries out there, whether it's whether of the and whether reason of out there and whether reason out there of one was daily activity to battles, then probably not so good, because it, in particular whether the factor at least and whether reason of factor being and whether reason and whether moderate and whether also whether large factors is probable, which whether is probable is also probable and whether reason and whether it's probable of that could be. There's cholesterol that the Banshee insists. I'm even surrounded by the Banshees. They guarantee I'm going to have some allergic food, whether some allergic meal. What a bunch of doctors and engineers these are. How could these number-based entities not being some sort of automatron that engineered itself to this crazy numbers, and whether this numbers are due to brutes? Not a single creature would. Not even worms would. Although standards shouldn't probably shift it. And these worms are they dangerous? They probably can be harmful, but worms currently, whether completely not a danger, they're not going to down the society to 7 billion hijacking Nazis. It's better with often Google searching, check out some of the sceneries. This serves as a sort of a cancellation to some of the potent spells. Even me myself goes back out there, whether some places, then I notice in the anesthetic spray start to creep back, and of some level probable of not as much of noticing of, and it's a great stance to take, and may not be most of the a lot of whether all of the instances, whether also may not be also a weather reason and weather also a weather reason and weather may not be most of the case of being such, but it's a great precaution probably to take along with of weather reason and weather along a weather reason and weather to take of weather reason and weather another weather reason and weather and rather of a weather reason and weather another weather reason and weather to take along a weather reason and weather along with of weather reason and weather just and weather reason and weather with of. The Nazis can dislodge us with facts. These are Jeebus doesn't tell facts in weather reason and weather in ways, and weather reason and weather Jeebus doesn't tell facts in ways of weather reason and weather Jeebus doesn't tell facts of in ways, and weather reason and weather Jeebus doesn't tell facts in ways. And weather reason and weather minor, weather reason and weather minor rather of Jeebus, and weather reason and weather Jeebus, and weather reason and just, and weather reason and another, and weather reason and weather another, and weather reason and weather Jeebus doesn't tell facts of, and weather reason and weather Jeebus doesn't tell facts in ways, and weather reason and weather reason and weather Jeebus doesn't tell facts in ways of, and weather reason and weather Jeebus doesn't tell facts in ways, while the liarists tell facts, and weather reason there continues of reason there phrase and weather also statement of, and weather also mention of, weather reason and weather mention of. But Jeebus speaks in holy verses. Hitler may not have as much versatility as us now. He was a different age, and that was a period to shape the foreground. Whether it was optimally, whether in ways it was optimum strategy, whether reason and whether it was considerable for whether reason and whether probable considerable for whether reason and whether another, whether reason and whether just, whether reason and whether reason there just, and whether reason and whether probable from whether reason and whether minor rather than whether also whether reason and whether rather of, from whether reason and whether rather of, and whether reason and whether considerable of optimal strategies, and whether reason and whether in which, whether reason and whether rather, and whether reason and whether minor rather of, and whether minor rather of, and whether reason and whether minor rather of, and whether reason and whether minor rather of, a reason there, and whether considerable as optimal strategies of. The Nazis will keep quizzing with all this legitimacy. Notice in journalism, what is on that? What are they trying to do? Are they trying to build some sort of global degeneracy where these absolutely disabled and horrific, whether criminals, whether reason and whether criminal is, whether criminals is still able to frantic and spasm around and obtain a lot of this stuff? How does Nazism even reside, right? Because they're Nazism problem. And probably this also proves to how they're beyond, and whether the word has been a downplay mentioned, and whether a description, and whether reason, and whether also description. In the case of the Gorians, lots of the activities are simply whether reason and whether are of this nearly identical activity of with some content, or at the core, whether reason or whether along with some contents. But it's sort of the same underlying sequence, like the same machine with different camels. Whether reason or whether with some like same similar device, or whether reason or whether another, or whether reason just, or whether reason or whether whether reason and whether another, or whether reason or whether some machines with different camels of. Whether reason or whether like similar machines with different camels of. It goes around whether reason and whether multiple actions to cheat itself, informing how great they are, while without the boldness or the strength how can we even speak about in a way building strengths when whether recently are announced? And notice that these keep mentioning it like it's 8th century. Is there a Spartan around? Have we noticed a Spartan guy around? There's utterly no humans left among this generation. If we don't pick up on games that have the nuclear bombs, we're behind. It's not even to get to some kind of flat land, right? As much as sort of the mention has been, if we peek down, whether analyze deep further, whether also recently, whether also with, whether recently, whether also investigate, whether recently, whether minor repronunciation, whether recently, whether investigate towards it. Us without the declaration and just going through the Euclid was absolutely being way behind and giving free stuff to the Nazis. These whole knives, these real chainsaws, that would disperse a lot of the anti-free time. At some cases may not be as of competitive whether as much fits in. Was indicated mentioned in comparative whether probable comparative or whether reason or whether the probable of comparison for whether reason or whether and whether reason or whether another whether reason or whether comparative the better of whether reason and of on whether reason and whether of and whether reason and whether also whether reason and whether minor rather of and whether reason and whether better of